Hello everybody and welcome back to Teachers Talk Money, where I help teachers master their money in order to give back to themselves. Today I have a little bit of a bonus video for you that was not planned content, and that is to sort of give you guys an update on my teacher salary so far. So for some context, I'm going into my 4th year teaching. I'm currently not tenured, but I will be tenured on day 1 of my 4th year teaching. And it bears repeating that yes, I'm early on in my career, but I do make quite a bit of money, mostly from working in a high cost of living area and a very competitive paying county in my state. I am seeing a huge increase in my salary this year, and that is for a number of reasons. One of the big reasons is that last year during the pandemic, they actually paused our salary steps. So I was meant to be on step 3 of my salary scale, but they kept me at the rate of pay of a step 2 teacher. And they did this across the board for all the teachers in our county, which was really a huge shame and disservice, I believe, to teachers whose job descriptions had essentially changed overnight when the pandemic hit and who put in, quite honestly, for the most part, a lot more work than we typically would in a normal school year. That being said, it is what it is, so they paused it for a while and then they reinstated it in the last 2 months of the school year. So my rate of pay for pretty much the entire year was the same I was making as a 2nd year teacher, which was $51,000 as my base salary. If I were on the step I was supposed to be on, that would have been about $54,000. So I was making about $3,000 less than I was meant to be making at that point anyway. But now that our step was reinstated, I started at the end of the year getting that step 3 paycheck, and now I'm moving on to step 4. So I'm seeing quite a big increase, partially because it was paused for so long. Also last year, I made kind of a weird combination of stipend money. This totaled $8,355 before taxes. One of them was for doing the school newspaper, which is something I typically do. One of them was for coaching the co-ed volleyball team, which was something I typically do. But I also stepped in for the partial girls volleyball season this year because one of the coaches was on maternity leave. So I got a partial stipend for that as well. So kind of a weird combination this past year. And that brought my salary to about $59,600. Still, with taking on that extra role and with being at the same rate of pay as last year, I actually made about $1,000 less than I did last year, which was pretty tough. I mean, I basically just kept my savings and investment rates the same and kept my spending the same. But honestly, I was really hoping to get that raise to sort of start boosting my investments, and now I feel like I'm playing a bit of catch up. However, there are some other reasons that my pay increased this year as well. One of them is that my county, obviously they reinstated my step, so I'll be on step 4, and they added a cost of living adjustment to the salary steps, which of course they should do very frequently. So on step 4 of the first lane of the salary scale, which is where I would be this year, I would be making about $55,400, but I also earned my master's equivalency this year. So in addition to being a higher step, I get to move over a lane on the salary scale, which means a pay increase. So this year I will be making about $62,000 as my base salary, which again, because our steps were paused and we didn't have that cost of living adjustment, that's over $10,000 more than I made for my base salary last year, which is pretty insane to think about. I mean, obviously it wouldn't be that drastic if they hadn't paused the steps, but it's a pretty big jump from what I have been acclimated to. My stipends this year, as far as I know, I'm just gonna do the co-ed coaching position and the newspaper position, so those will total $6,800 about. Again, I'm not planning on taking any more work, but I say that every year and sometimes these things happen, so who knows if it could end up being a little bit more than that. So the total with my base salary and the stipends I'm planning on taking before taxes and deductions, obviously, is going to be about $68,800. Again, this is over a $9,000 raise than what I was making in total last year. So I'm extremely grateful for that. I'm always extremely grateful to have a competitive salary as a teacher, which is really not something we see in a lot of districts around the country. It's exciting too because I'm only 18 credits away from my plus 30, which would put me up another lane, so I'm planning on doing that over the course of this year. So yeah, it's looking bright. I'm going to have a lot of opportunity to save and invest some extra money, which I guess brings us to the question of how I'm going to actually allocate this increased pay that I'm getting. So I'm not sure what my actual paychecks are going to look like at this point, so I'm just going to kind of answer in theory, and then of course you can come stop in and check on my budgets each and every month because I post those at the beginning of the month. One change I am making is that I am increasing my 457 contributions. I previously had 15% of my paychecks going to my 457, and I increased that to 18% this year. My investment strategy with my Roth IRA is going to be the same. That's where I'm going to throw most of my stipend money and my tax refunds and my third paycheck when I get it. My rent did increase this year, so my housing costs will increase, and that's because now my base salary is pretty much the same as what my partner Brian is making, and so we're going to start splitting the rent 50-50 again. And then beyond that, any extra money in my paychecks will probably mostly go to my savings accounts, otherwise known as my sinking funds. Now that I've purchased a new car, I need to rebuild my car fund for maintenance that comes up and eventually to replace this one when that time comes. And then of course I need to continue to fund my other savings accounts like travel, gifts, summer money for next year, etc. And potentially I'll increase my spending. I'm not totally sure. I feel pretty comfortable with what it is now, so I'll have to see what those paychecks actually look like to decide if I want to sort of inflate more of my spending other than just my rent, but we'll see when we get to it. So I hope you guys enjoyed this. This was more of just a little update, and obviously, like I said, until I see what my paychecks look like, I won't be able to give you the exact numbers. But stay tuned and keep watching my budget update videos to see what those paychecks will actually look like. I hope this update was helpful. I hope you guys have an amazing week, and I will see you in the next video. Bye!